Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the Stewed Up Geek Fix podcast. Guys, if you are new to the channel, smash that subscribe button if you love Pixar, if you love Disney, if you love Domee Shi, which we're going to talk about her. Holy crap, what a terrific film. Today, we are breaking down a spoiler review of Turning Red, the latest Pixar film here in the house. We've got Bad Dog Reviews saying, hey, thank you so much for joining as always. Guys, if you're watching us live, be sure to comment, talk with us. We'll bring your questions up during the show, and to help me break it down, he is Loretto at Marcellus Durden. What's up, Lo?
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, whatever side of the coast you are. It's sunny, 70 degrees out here in California. I had a little bit of an early work errand to run. I took a nap. I'm waking up fresh, but I am so excited to gush about this wonderfully animated Pixar film that we got blessed with yesterday, right? So I'm excited. I had a really good time.
Bad Dog Review says, how are you guys doing today? I'm doing great, man. Pixar is back. Pixar, for me at least, is back. And let's start off with general impressions of the movie. I thought the visual style of Turning Red was absolutely gorgeous. Have you ever seen Gravity Falls, Lo?
That's on Cartoon Network, right?
Yeah.
And it's I noticed that kind of like art style, it's starting to get more popular. Like, it reminds me of like Regular Show a little bit. Yeah,
May seemed like she was stripped right out of Mabel is one of the characters in Gravity Falls, which is not a bad thing. But definitely had that same kind of like cheery positivity about her. But for me, yeah. As a kid growing up through the 90s and 2000s, like reliving all those like cringe things in that era was absolutely terrific, especially during that first 10 minutes. Just awesome. The Tamaguchi, the boy band references, I loved them all. Were you an NSYNC or a Backstreet Boys fan? Which one? Because there was no in the middle there.
No, well, okay. Growing up, I guess because of my age, I was more closer to NSYNC because they were the younger guys and they were more like action-packed and dancey. But as I got older, I think the Backstreet Boys had better songs.
Okay.
Like their catalog of hits just goes forever, and I think they kind of got the edge in terms of like the songwriting. That it probably wasn't them, but whoever was writing their songs did a much better job.
Yeah. So watching them do like choreography and their dances with the boys band songs was awesome, man. I don't know about you, man, but when I was young, I made up dances to Crisscross. Do you have any idea who Crisscross is?
The Mac Daddy make you jump. Crisscross will make you. Yes. Weedy whack.
I knew every single song, but every single lyric, and I used to dance. So obviously there's a relatability factor with this movie for me. A lot of this movie also made me think, like, what if we had like a 3D Studio Ghibli? For me, like I had that kind of vibe, which was really, really fun. I just thought that, this was just a beautiful family film. I've got a 2-year-old daughter, and I'm 100% sure she had no idea what was going on during this movie, but she was laughing. She laughed probably through like 80% of this movie, and that means something. So my wife, my daughter, we all loved it. We had a really, really good time. I thought Ludwig Göransson's score in this was really, really strong. We watched Turning Red again today, and I listened to the score, start to finish, and it's really strong. And Göransson's just on a tear, man. You got Boba Fett, you've got this, and now I'm excited to see what he's going to do with Wakanda Forever if that comes out this year. Who knows at this point? But really kind of like my overall impression of this movie was I really wanted this to be released in theaters. I was going to see this in theater. Like, given the positive buzz about this, I am a Pixar truther, and this movie was so good top to bottom. My biggest reaction after this was like I teared up in multiple parts in this film, and I just wish I had that experience in the theater. That's my general impression. What about you, man?
No, seriously, this caught me by surprise. Like, and not that I was expecting it to be not good, but I was actually overjoyed with how much I liked it. And I think I just kind of want to speak to, I know it's getting a little bit of like a 50-50 like divisive split on like whether people liked it or enjoyed it or not. And I think that anyone that feels like they couldn't relate to this character didn't give this a chance and didn't give it enough of its time, in my opinion. I mean, like, look, sure, if you're not a 13-year-old girl, if you're not Chinese and you don't live in Toronto, sure, you're not going to relate to this. But dude, when you peel back the layers, this is about being embarrassed by your mom. Who hasn't been embarrassed by your mom? This is about geeking out, like you said, Dives, with your friends. And it's like whether or not you were a skater or a band geek or you do routine dances, this is something you can relate to. And I just feel like anyone that couldn't feel that, I feel like kind of missed the point, because I had fun. I'm not 13. I'm not a little girl, but it was so charming the way it was written. And I want to shout out, I think Dives, I think you said her name correctly. Hit me one more time. Domee Shi? You're muted.
My bad. Domee Shi.
Domee Shi. Dude, so I didn't realize that was her. One of my friends on Twitter reminded me. She did Bao, which was an excellent short about like an Asian mother caring for her little Bao that she made. It was like a little piece of food, but metaphorically it was her son. And I love the concept of that short film. And I think that kind of heart and passion just spilled over to Turning Red. And like you said, Dives, the core of this is finding your true voice, being able to not be afraid to voice your opinion to your parents and stuff like that. I mean, that speaks across any culture or race or age. And Pixar, like you said in our little thumb down there, this is probably the best film they've done in years. I am so excited to be a part of this, to experience it firsthand. I wish we saw it in theaters. And also, I love that you mentioned the score, because there's something about Goranson's like kind of hip hop mentality with some of like the chase sequences, the dramatic moments. Like he adds like some beats that it's refreshing. It's different from your usual violins and, you know, normal kind of orchestra scores. So
yeah, John Williams says, well said, Lo. Yeah, I mean, the relatability was through like 11 out of 10. 11 out, like who isn't like when they're 13 years old having that like social awkwardness, you know, walking through the halls in middle school? Who doesn't feel, you know, all those hormones and like where everything is like literally the worst thing ever. Everything is everything's falling apart. It's the worst day of all time. Where really it's not really that bad. And I love that scene in this film where, you know, May thinks, you know, everyone's gonna hate her and all these things. But what happens is, you know, that's like the family film in this. But what happens is they actually like that she's this adorable little, well, not little, but big panda bear. And I love that positivity. I love that optimism. We don't have enough of these kind of movies these days. There's just as much as like this movie was themed in like the early 2000s and 90s. But for me, like that's like a 90s film. Like I felt, my heart felt warm watching this movie.
Also, I just wanted to quickly shout out that the heartthrob in the convenience store had like puka shells, or like, you know, the shells around the neck, the, you know, like the spiked like little poofy hair, and then the other guy that she kind of gawked over, he had the dreamy skater surfer hair. It was just so funny. Like those little things. It's like, haha. It's like, you know, you remember. And I think parents watching this with their kids, I mean, that speaks to us, right? So I think that was really kind of like refreshing to see that as well. Like that age, that generation, early 2000s, you know.
Yeah, totally. Bad Dog Review says Turning Red would have looked great on the big screen. Oh my God, yes. Just gorgeous. I love the anime references in this movie, like from the rainfall to like the eyes and the tears, and it was just gorgeous. And I respect Domee Shi and I respect, you know, Pixar for going this route. It was fresh. This was a different take, and I really, really enjoyed it because of that. I hope
exactly. And I think when the trailers were coming out, people were complaining about why do their faces look like that? It's like, just go with it. Like it's fun. It's emotive. It's like, you know what I mean? Like Aladdin didn't look perfectly realistic. It's still a great film. Like there's a freaking moving carpet. Like, come on. Like, and people are complaining about their shapes of their heads and stuff. It's like, just have fun with it. Like,
yeah, I can't even comment on that. Like that was one of the highlights.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. It reminded me a little bit like Luca as well, with how like emotive their smiles and laughs and yells were. And I thought it was fun. I thought it just added to their personalities.
I fully agree. that first like 10 minutes was terrific for me. Just like there's something about like even just that like little 30-second intro where it's in front with the title card and she's like dancing, and like there's something like a 90s vibe about that. I don't know what it was, but I really enjoyed it.
Not to go too long on our impressions of this, but I just want to say this is how much this film like kicked me like in the gut yesterday. But for all the kids out there that were ever outcasted, right? Like there's plenty of kids, whether you're Asian or Chinese or white or whatever, brown, anyone that ever got good grades, she's playing the flute in this, to have that confidence that she expressed. I think this is someone that kids of our generation, like growing up right now, could look up to
big time.
Because I didn't have that kind of confidence. I'll be honest right now. I was a little bit of an outcast when I was younger. I had some really dorky, weird sensibilities about myself, and it's like sometimes I didn't have the confidence to own that. And she had a sticker that says "I love math." She was just owning her personality and her geekiness. And I think, not enough kids are confident enough to do that. And I think to have a character on screen portray that, I think that's awesome for kids nowadays. So
really, really well said. That might be my favorite part of the show right there. I cannot agree more. Let's go into favorite moments. You lead us off, Lo. What was your favorite moments of Turning Red?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how many people cringed internally, how many people like just know exactly that feeling. But when they're passing notes in class, and by the way, I love her friends. Her friends are awesome. Miriam, Priya, and what's that really wild little goofy one?
I don't remember, but she's terrific. They're all
four-pack of friends are awesome. But so anyways, Miriam's like her best friend. She passes a note and it says, "Your mom's outside." And I even felt my own goosebumps because like I could just imagine being in middle school, 13 years old, and you look outside and your mom is like spying on you. Like I could just imagine that. I just felt like, oh, go away, go away, go. And I literally like that was one of the funniest parts of the movie. I was dying. And then the fact that it topped off with, "You forgot your pads." I was like, oh no, like especially for a young girl, like that's the worst. Like you don't want that be shown off to the entire school. Yeah. And meanwhile your mom's waving it around outside getting chased by security. The security guard is what really topped off the comedy for me, because like it was really subtle at first because she was like shooing away the security and you could see the security like, "What are you doing here?" The physical comedy was just so great. That was honestly my favorite moment. But also I want to shout out the grandma and the aunties that came through, like a straight like entourage of badass ladies like walking through the gate. I thought that was so cool to show like not only like the fact that family will always got your back, but like the fact that family could be pretty cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you're embarrassed about your grandma, your auntie, but when they walked through that gate with the light shining, they walked up like Ocean's 11 or something. You know what I mean? Like
Nicole says, "I'm ready to get my panda on. My panda, my choice." Love that.
Yes, comment. I love that.
So good. So many good messages, heartfelt messages in this movie. I was hoping a little bit that there was a total like hormones thing kicking in, that the note would have said like, "Will you go out?" Not for Miriam, but like someone else. Like it was like almost like a note of another boy asking May to go on a date, and it would be like, check yes or check for yes or check for. You remember that when you were a kid?
That would have been awesome. My first girlfriend. That's how I asked her. No lie, dude. That's how I asked her.
Or on the bottom says maybe.
We held hands for like a week, and then I didn't know what to do with her. And then, anyways, it was just so funny. Like that awkward stage is so weird. Like,
yeah, my favorite. There's a lot of good moments in this movie. One of my favorite ones is the scene or sequence when May confronts her friends about the panda, and they hear her in the room. And they come in, and May is just torn up. She's absolutely crying her eyes out. And I love that moment of her friends like being there for her. That was just that scene broke me, man. Absolutely. I don't know why, but like that was the biggest emotional response I had during the entire film. Not the end. It was this scene. The scene where, May's just, in the like literally just lying on the ground crying, and they start to sing Four Town, and that was their way of bringing May back, and it just was waterworks, absolute waterworks for me, because I related to that. Like, I don't know, music is emotion, and it was just such a wonderful, beautiful segment of her friendship and how she utilized that. That was the stepping stone, the catalyst of her being able to control the panda inside. It was just a beautiful moment for me. Another one for me, I thought, was that, I kind of already touched on it, but when she was so terrified of how her friends would think of her, and it was like the exact opposite, and that they thought of her as this adorable panda. And I love the positivity of this. Middle school is rough. It is by far the worst part of school, period, for a young kid. It's worse than high school. All the rumors, all the passive aggressiveness, the mindset, the hormones, everything sucks in middle school. And I just love how young kids can relate to that for sure. So I really like that. And obviously I really love the 90s vibes. The fact that we just watched a Pixar movie with Bootylicious in the soundtrack just makes me really happy. Just really, truly makes me happy. Any other favorite moments before we move on to what didn't work about this movie?
Well, I just also want to speak to the fact that using a song to cheer someone up, like, again, I think people that get turned off by the boy band thing, it's like missing the point. Like, that could have been anything. It could have been a Blink-182 song or Nirvana song. It could have been Nelly, Country Grandma, you rapping with your friend to cheer him up. You know what I mean? Like, this could have been anything, but like you said, the power of music is healing. And it's like, come on. Like, it just bugs me that for some people that maybe just couldn't get into the movie in the first 5-10 minutes, like, just let it breathe. Just give it a chance. Like, there's a lot to be said here. And I feel like if you don't get to that first hour, you're just missing a lot of the heart of this really, really well-told story.
And I just love the dynamic between the mother and daughter. As I have a daughter myself, and I'm trying not to get like choked up here, but I just love how, to the core, especially at the end, where May finally saw her mom, defense mechanisms, the wall is gone. She sees her mom as this like broken young child, about trying to be perfect for her mom, and how that has literally torn her apart. And they immediately had that connection. Like, that was the moment where I mean, they already had that connection, but like, that was the moment where, up until this point, May chose her friends as her happy place over her mom. And I just love that segment. And you kind of like that was an interesting moment. When I was done watching this movie, you realize like why, May's mom was so big, such a big panda. It was because she kept so much inside. That's the way I took this. She kept so much inside trying to be perfect for her mom, and how I just loved it. I just love that entire message that at the end of the day, traditions evolve. At the end of the day, things evolve to the point where this is your life now. And that was a really amazing segment. That not only that, I thought the grandmother actually kind of let them go faster than I expected. Like, she went from I hated the mom, and then I felt bad for her. For the grandmother, like the mom's mom, I thought she was like, and then she was the one that was like, it's your life. And that was a really cool kind of twist on the story, about culture and how things evolve. And this movie has so much to say. What about you, Lo? What's some things that didn't work about this movie?
I wish I kind of like looked back at this harder, because there's so much that I enjoyed. If you have yours ready, just give me a second. I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around, because I liked so much about this film. There's not much I didn't.
So it's such a mild complaint. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have one little complaint, because I love this movie top to bottom. The band at the end, where they're like joining the ants and joining everyone to get May's mom into the circle and do the circle dance and turn her back from panda back to human was a little too much for me. It was a little cringy. I can't lie about that. I wish that could have been a little bit better, or just not. The band didn't need to be involved at all in that segment. It was kind of weird. Or the friends. That was kind of. I like the moment of May, being this like giant Godzilla tearing up the Sky Dome. I like the idea of what was it? Four Town. I think it was Four Town, and I liked how like that is just a stark contrast to like Chinese culture there, right? Like hotels don't even have the number 4 on like elevators. Like it is a very bad number. So that was a really cool contrast to like how the mom sees this band that's taking her daughter away from her and creating this separation and dynamic there. It's a really interesting concept, but it's such a small complaint. It is such a small complaint. But yeah, the band didn't need to be there in the climax. What about you?
I think the only thing I can even think of, and it's weird because it's like a half complaint. Like it's not even like the worst thing in the world, but I think the resolution with Tyler the bully was a little bit like glazed over a little bit, but yeah. I liked that they won him over and that he was secretly a 4-Town fan. I thought, again, like, when you're a young kid, a young boy especially, you got to try to put on this tough guy persona, like if that's like the kind of person you want to be, and then to have this secret obsession with a boy band, and then to be friends with the girls that like the band too. It's like I think that was really brave, and I like that at the end, he was with them at the very end, like, geeking out. And I thought that was cool, but at the same time, there wasn't any real resolution. It's just, I guess it was just implied. Again, it was probably more show and not tell. But, honestly, there's so much, like I said, about this movie that I liked. I can't even think about anything else that bothered me. I love the score. I love the visuals. I love the characters. This is one of the best Pixar films I've seen in a long time. And that's just what it is.
Bad Dog Review says, I think Turning Red works great as a coming-of-age story. And Tyler, what's up, Tyler, says, as a fellow Tyler, I'm glad Tyler is redeemed. I took it as middle school. Like that is middle school to a T. Like you're enemies one day, the next day you're best friends. That's how middle school works. And I actually didn't see that on my first viewing. I didn't see Tyler there in that last little segment there where they're leaving, what's that, the temple? And I picked that up on my second viewing today. It was really, really fun.
Yeah, and he's like geeking out. Weren't they like
yeah.
They're geeking out over 4-Town, right?
Yeah. Bad Dog Review says, I wasn't a fan of the 4-Town band, but I did appreciate that what they were trying to do there. Yeah, man. I mean, I think this is a movie, let's just jump right into final grades. I think this is a movie that has relatability. Like if you're a kid, you're gonna love how vibrant this movie is. If you're a teenager, obviously have major connections there with the social anxieties and the awkwardness of hormones and going through that horrible time. It is what it is. And then as adults, there's a nostalgia factor about this movie that I was vibing so freaking hard in this movie. Like, especially that first 10-15 minutes. I didn't know this was taking place. Like it technically was early 2000s, but it felt to me like a 90s movie. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. For me, this is a strong 9.2 out of 10. Should we talk about where this fits in with Pixar?
I'm not ready to do that. To be honest, I do want to watch it again. I'm glad you saw it twice. I want to watch it again to affirm my feelings. It's
good. It was solid on the second viewing too. How would you grade out of 10? Turning Red.
So, I think before I even hit my grade, I just want to say that I think personifying emotion, anxiety, puberty, almost any kind of detriment in your head, your mental blocks in your head and mental stress and worries, to personify it with an inner beast, I think is a very, very clever storytelling tool. And I think, like you said, for kids growing up right now, that is something that more and more kids can watch this and relate to. And I think that's really important. I think that's awesome to address the fact that you're going to feel these things. For a 9-year-old watching this movie, it's okay, look, this is how it might feel. This is how it might look or happen. Like you might not turn into a beast, but you're gonna feel like you're losing your mind, right? So I loved that Pixar and Disney, whoever you want to put the blame on. I like that they're just addressing this, and I like that whether or not the Disney put it into theaters, which again I agree with everyone's sentiments that this was a mistake. We should be watching this in theaters like nationwide, but that's neither here nor there. I think the message here is really important. That message of confiding in your family, finding your own voice, not being afraid to stand up to your family. I think that's something that we've seen before, but I really liked the way it was executed here. The fictional songs by that band are so catchy. It feels like real songs. Like it feels like a song I want to sing along with them. And like I said, just the characterization, just such a lovable group of friends. And I think whether or not you have 2 best friends or 4 best friends or a group of friends you grew up with, I think that pack, that friends that always got your back, I think most of us have some semblance of that. And I think, again, like you said, I agree. I think this movie is relatable for any person on this planet. I think everybody should go see this. Right now, hyperbolic emotions aside, I'm leaning towards a 10.
Wow.
Yes,
I love it.
This might sneak into like my top 5. Like I really, really liked this movie. I'm going to watch it again. Maybe I'm kind of too excited right now because I had such a fun time last night, but I haven't felt like this in a long time. Like, to be honest, in comparison, I haven't felt this excited about a Pixar film since Coco.
Yeah.
And that's how like culturally and emotionally important this movie is, at least in my opinion. I think this could be a landmark film for a lot of kids growing up right now.
Yeah, again, kudos to Domee Shi for, this is her first feature film and just knocked it out of the park. Absolutely not, like, just terrific. I did that today. I was with Nicole and we were like, and I agree, like since Coco, 100% agree. But then when you get into like some of the Pixar legends and you're like,
right. I'm scared to look at it, but I want to watch it again so I can figure out where it stands. So
yeah, we're definitely going to do a Pixar tier ranking post Turning Red because I think that'll be really interesting. Pixar just has some bangers that, it's just
Formal's in the house.
Oh, Formal's in the house.
What up, Formal?
Formal, what's going on? What'd you think of Turning Red? So, final thoughts. Domee Shi just crushed this movie. It's got so much heart. It's got so much warmth. It had that like 90s like heartfelt vibe for me where I felt so good watching this movie. Beginning, middle, and end. It's predictable, but I feel like this movie had such a good message. I love your comment at the start of this show, though, about giving like young females like a positive role model. The somewhat of a movie character to look up to. I think Toronto was nailed in this movie. Like what was it called? The Sky Zone, not Sky Zone. Drawing a blank state. Sky Dome. Yeah, it didn't look like it was the real thing out there. Like it looked. Like I love the accuracies of Toronto. I think it was filmed in. I could be wrong, or taking place. Any final thoughts on this film?
Shouts out to the dad. He didn't have a lot of screen time, but they made the most of it with him, especially that cooking sequence. Like I'm sure you loved that. Like the way like the sauce coming out the bottle, like the water beads on the lettuce. It was beautiful, and it made me hungry. I was watching that last night and I was like, yo, I could go for some dumplings or some pork buns. You know what I'm saying? Like that got me hungry. I was like, yo. I also appreciated how obviously this is about the mom and the daughter, but I liked that like the dad didn't overstep his boundary, but he did have a couple things to say, especially just relating with the daughter. Like, hey, you know what? Like because he watched the video of her friends. He was like, this is important. Like, this means something. And it's like I like that he saw through that instead of just siding with like the grandma and the mom, like, oh, you need to put your panda away. Like he saw that the panda genuinely made her happy. Yes. So
I love there's a scene in this film where May is looking like she's going through the transformation phase where she's going to get rid of the panda, and she's looking at like a mirror at herself, and she sees herself. You look at the start of the film, like when like the teacher's even describing May, she's like boring, she's annoying, she's got black hair, And then she looks at herself, and she's got orange hair. She's vibrant. She's got a voice. She's having fun. She's doing kind of what she wants. I love that contrast, man. Again, there's so many great moments in this film. I'm just to like kind of throw it back. I do wish this movie was like in '98, because you look at like this movie, like there's no way that this took place in the early 2000s. Like JT was going solo in the early 2000s. I'm pretty sure boy bands in the early 2000s were like kind of on down, right? Like I look at early 2000s was like,
I remember correctly, that was like the peak, but also the decline of TRL.
Yeah,
but it was still relevant. Like 98 Degrees, I think, was popping off around that time.
Are you sure? We need to look that up, because I like when I think of like early 2000s, I think of like Nelly, I think of Nickelback, I think of Eminem.
Yeah, well, definitely Eminem, and nu metal took over, like that rap metal phase.
Yeah.
Like Limp Bizkit was huge, like 2000, 2001. Kid Rock, Ja
Rule was killing it back then.
Yeah, but so I think there was a good mix.
Yeah.
I think there was still some poppy relevancy. I think it started going away around 04, 05, though.
Okay. Formal says liked but didn't love. Nothing against, really. Some character story points didn't stick the landing. Get why people are into it, though.
That's fair,
and
Formal.
Bad Dog Review says the dad was honestly so hilarious. Loved it. All right, let's wrap it up. Loretto, where can we find you, man? What do you got going on over there?
Always down to talk shop on Twitter at Marcellus Durden. I leave pretty detailed, extensive reviews on Letterboxd. Also at Marcellus Durden. Just hit me up, follow me. I'm always down to talk shop. I'm super excited for tomorrow. Please come back to this channel tomorrow night. We're having our very first Suit Up Geek Fix roundup, where we kind of just round up hot topic points, news points, and talk about anything that's really exciting in the world of film and TV and comics and Star Wars and Marvel. And it's going to be really fun. We're going to try to make this a bi-weekly thing. I know all four of us Suit Up Geeks, which is this past week has been pretty good for us. We've been sticking together, and I think we're going to try to keep that going with this new show. So please tune in tomorrow night. Are we 8 p.m. Eastern?
9 p.m.
9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, you'll get to see me react to like all the news, because I probably haven't heard of 90% of it. That's like, I'm just going to do a real reaction. It'll be great. And I'm excited to do our Pixar rankings, because that could be more heated than our Batman rankings, I think.
Oh, definitely. No, and I think Pixar, I think what's really cool about them, this is the last I'll kind of like go on about it. I think definitely each film speaks to different people, right? I mean,
100%.
Like Finding Nemo, I think the reason why I like it so much is because I'm a parent. But then again, maybe some people can't relate to that, and maybe they like something else. So it's very interesting to know what movies sit well with others. Like for example, I'm sure you love Ratatouille, right?
That was like the movie I was just about, like in the back of my head. That was my next comment. I love cooking, and Ratatouille speaks to me just like Coco speaks to you.
There you go. Ex-musician here.
So I love Ratatouille. That is hands down a top 3. We did these before, but that was like 2-3 years ago.
No, we need an update. I can't wait to look back. It's just that I don't know where Turning Red's gonna stand. I feel like it's gonna sneak into my top 10. Like I really, really liked it.
I again, not to go on, but I did briefly go into Pixar's greatest, and it's probably, I'm sorry, but it's probably like mid to a little above mid-tier Pixar, if I had to like off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But then again, like you're talking the best movies of all time, like for me at least, because I love Pixar. But that would be
mid Pixar is not even bad.
Yeah, mid Pixar is like straight A. Like yeah, there's going to be a laundry list of films from S to A in those rankings. That's going to be, at least for me.
I was gonna say you might need to like extend those tiers.
No, exactly.
Make it a little bigger for the S and the A there.
Dude, double rows for S's and A's. That's hilarious. All right, guys, follow my man Lo on Twitter at Marcellus Durden. I am Dyers, Mr. Crockbot. Check us out on Twitter at the Suit Up Geeks. We are proud members of Music City Drive-In. Please be sure to go check them out on Twitter at MCDI Pod, I think, and then musiccitydriving.com.
And follow our Instagram.
And follow our Instagram, brand new. Please share the love. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night for our kind of news roundtable as we break down the latest in geek throughout the week. So for Loretto, for myself, stay awesome, everybody.